Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my last wrap-up video of 2025. In this video, I will talk about the 6 books that I finished in the second half of December. Like I did in my previous wrap-ups, I will insert the clips that I've recorded quite soon after I finish those works. Today is the 16th of December and I finished the lowest rated book on my TBR, which was a Turkish historical fiction book titled Hürriyet ve İstibdat by Burak Artuner. This book takes place in the time period in which Sultan Abdülhamid II is in reign, and he rules the country with the help of a very complex spy organization, because young and educated Turks are trying to gain more freedom in the country by installing some kind of monarchy. During this chaotic period, a love between a idealistic young Turk and the mistress of a pasha employed high in the palace blossoms. And in the same day, this ruthless pasha also gets in contact with an arms dealer born in Istanbul and is searching for his first love. Contrary to the low rating in Goodreads, I thought this book was very decent and quite engaging, especially the fact that the book was told from different points of view, enriched the experience of the time period, which is quite significant in the Turkish history. Although I agree with the author's stand in the book, I thought the book could have been a bit less didactic, because in some parts I felt like the author was trying a bit too hard. But other than that, I quite enjoyed reading about the time period and the characters, and I gave Hürriyet İstibdat by Burak Artuner a 7 out of 10. Today is the 19th of December and I finished one book yesterday evening and one book today. The book that I finished yesterday evening was the book that I chose to read for the category Romance Online Book Club. Although Sarah does not choose authors anymore, I decided to read a category romance book every month this year. And the last book that I read for the project was Lost in Little Havana by Caridad Pineiro. In this book, we follow two detectives, Ronnie Lopez and Trey Gonzalez. When Trey's partner is killed in a Miami Beach nightclub, Ronnie is employed to investigate Trey and his dead partner's dealings by the internal affairs. Aside from Ronnie's secret, they both have secrets of their own, which is their attraction for each other. But as they work together and their investigation deepens, the secrets that they hide from each other becomes much more harder to keep. The mystery and the investigation in this book was quite interesting. However, I'm sorry to say that the romance was not as exciting as the mystery, and also maybe I listened to this as an audiobook and the narrator was not really good. I had a hard time distinguishing the differences between the side characters, which made it a bit hard to understand as well. Overall, Lost in Little Havana by Caridad Pineiro was a 3-star read for me. And the book that I finished today was a book written originally in Italian and translated to Turkish. Bir Nefes Gibi by Ferzan Özpetek. Ferzan Özpetek is actually a quite famous Turkish director living in Italy, and he is a quite accomplished award-winning director. And in this book, we follow the story of two sisters estranged from each other because of a tragedy that happened about 40 years ago. We follow two timelines in this book. The first timeline is actually quite interesting, consisting of letters written from the sister who went away to Turkey, Istanbul, 40 years ago, time that she arrives in Istanbul until she decides to come back to Italy to reconcile with her sister. Second timeline begins from the time that she arrives in Italy and rings the bell of her sister's house and finds out that a young couple is living there instead of her sister. When I did try a chapter video for this book, I very much enjoyed the first chapter of the book, and it was the same for the first half of the book. I was very curious about why these two sisters were estranged, did not have a real communication for 40 years. However, when the mystery was quite obvious, my interest in the story faded, and the ending was a big letdown. Although the main two characters were quite complex characters and their relationship was interesting, secondary characters felt two-dimensional. So, Bir Nefes Gibi by Ferzan Özpetek was a 7 out of 10 book for me. Today is the 27th of December, and I finished the audiobook that I was listening, which was The Manchurian Candidate by Richard Condon. I read this book for Roll the Dice Challenge, in which I had to read a book belonging to From Pages to Screen list. This political thriller is set during the Cold War, just after Korean War. Follows a war veteran, Raymond Shaw, whose heroic public image contrasts sharply with troubling gaps in his memory and behavior. The book explores themes of mind control, propaganda, and the fragility of free will in a world shaped by fear and ambition. I'm a big fan of the older movie of The Manchurian Candidate. I think it is a very good political thriller, and that was the reason why I wanted to read the source material. Although I found the overall theme of especially mind control fascinating, how it was constructed in this book was really good. This book was a bit disappointing for me because the writing was so unemotional and so cold. Maybe that was the intention of the author, but this type of writing style rarely works for me. I felt like I was listening to a very stoic broadcast of events. But I have to admit the ending was quite memorable. Overall, I gave The Manchurian Candidate by Richard Condon a 7 out of 10. Today is the 30th of December, and I finished the book that I took out from the library, which was also a book that I could use for my Turkish Shelf video series, Bit Palace, The Flea Palace by Elif Şafak. One of the last books that were originally written by Turkish by Şafak. The story consists of the viewpoints of all of the people living in an apartment building, which was built in 1960s over both Muslim and also Armenian cemetery. We hear the residents' stories and their backgrounds as they're trying to deal with the very disturbing odor, as well as the growing number of bugs in the apartment caused by the dumpster that is formed on the vacant land facing the apartment. I am certainly planning to do a more dedicated Turkish shelf video about this book. Although interconnected stories and points of view are not my favorite type of storytelling, I really did like this one, and I also found the distinctiveness of the characters very fulfilling. Maybe I was not as emotionally as invested in a book following a fewer characters, but hearing so many different stories of the people living in the early 2000s in Istanbul made me think about those times, as well as what really happened since then. It was a quite thought-provoking book for me. Being so satisfied with this book, I cannot wait to read the first book in our Turkish Book Club, the book for January, February and March, which is another book by Elif Şafak. There are rivers in the sky. I will link the announcement video down below if you want to join this book club. Overall, I gave The Flower Palace by Elif Şafak a 9 out of 10. Today is the 31st of December, and on the last day of the year, I finished The Last Word by Taylor Adams. In this book, Emma Carpenter lives in isolation with her golden retriever, Laika, house sitting on an old beachfront home on the rainy Washington coast. Her only human contact is an enigmatic old neighbor, Dick, and via text, the house's owner, Jules. One day, she reads a poorly written but gruesome horror novel by the author H.G. Cain and posts a one-star review that drags her into an online argument with none other than the author himself. Soon after, disturbing incidents starts to occur at night. To Emma, this can't be a coincidence. I purposely read the Goodreads synopsis in order not to give spoilers because the book is full of action that happens quite early in the book. Also quite full of plot twists. Some of those twists were quite predictable for me as a dedicated mystery and thriller reader. However, some of them were quite shocking. What made this book quite a good reading experience was the writing style. It was very engaging, and the tempo of the book was fast enough to be on the edge, however slowing at times to grasp what is happening, involving very action-packed incidents. This was a quite successful read for the end of the year, and I gave The Last Word by Taylor Adams an 8 out of 10. Those were the 6 books that I finished in the second half of December. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, and what did you think of them? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose candidate. Candidate means aday in Turkish, and aday is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.